Everybody who just joined, we'll be starting in a few moments, 40 seconds to be exact.
I hope I'm grabbing the right Kyle.
It should be KB007.
Well, right this anyway.
Hey,
I got to question the wisdom of having a drink right after what we just watched, because now I feel guilty. Got to work on that beer belly.
We're going to ruin everyone's healthy bodies now.
All right, gentlemen, we'll be back with you in one moment because we want to show this.
Oh.
Can I do something for you? Can I do something for you, Mr. Warren?
Just a drink.
Mint julep.
Rum Collins.
2 Sazeracs.
Mojito.
You know, I think I'll call that a Vesper.
What will you drink, sir?
Malt whiskey and branch water, please.
Bourbon, no ice, please.
It's a waste of good scotch.
Closing time, James. Last call. I'm your pint.
A little more of this rather disappointing brandy.
Pity about your liver, sir. Don't usually find Solera.
I'd say it was a 30-year-old fiend indifferently blended, sir.
You usually drink Corsican brandy.
With an overdose of Bombois. It was a 30-year-old fiend indifferently blended, sir.
You usually drink Corsican brandy.
With an overdose of Bombois.
Bottoms up. Really?
Oh, champagne.
Put it on the table.
Dom Pérignon 64.
Siamese vodka.
Ooh, yuck.
Your predecessor kept some cognac in the top.
I prefer bourbon.
Listen, listen, boy. You'll lie down with any boy, including you, brother. Including you.
Do your friends want something?
He's had enough. Run a tap.
1 medium dry vodka martini, mixed like you said, sir, and not stirred.
A medium dry martini, lemon peel, shaken, not stirred. A martini, shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, but not stirred.
So that's stirred, not shaken. That was right, wasn't it?
Do I look like I give a damn?
Let's keep my martini cool.
Traditional but satisfying.
Yes, thanks. Sour mash, but not too sweet.
Gentlemen, a quick message from Q Branch. 2 things real quick. A lot of people are asking, oh my gosh, I hope that is on YouTube at some point. All of these panels will be separated and be on YouTube complete with the videos. And the second thing, gentlemen, is when there are videos playing, the Q Branch equipment is very sensitive. Do not touch your cursors. Enjoy.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
How
What's
you doing,
up, Kyle?
Joe? What are you drinking?
Happy Saturday. Nothing yet, but I will be very shortly.
I don't know how you expect to run this panel.
Oh, don't worry, I got it under control. In fact, I will get onto that very quickly. Q Branch, by the way, there's a handout number 1. If you want to go ahead and throw that out at any time, you can go ahead and do that.
We don't have that loaded as of yet. We're going to be having that in a little bit.
Take your time. All right, cool. So yeah, so basically later on I have a handout that I will give to people, which is the drinks chapter, the drinks and mixology chapter from Being James Bond Volume 1. We will hand that off later. Oh, somebody's got a copy of my book.
That's
You're
right.
the guy. Cool. All right, very good. So listen, so speaking of what am I drinking? By the way, Kyle,
I've got a Red Stripe, which is one of Bond's preferred beers, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
Feeling a little
Why
Jamaican
not?
today, huh?
It's nice and humid here in New York, so this is going down pretty nicely.
You know, very quickly. They got warm pretty quickly. So Q Branch, I have that second video. Should we go ahead and cue that up?
Absolutely, coming right up.
Cool. Hey there, and welcome to the Drinks Room. Welcome to Operation Phoenix. On behalf of my friend Kyle and myself, welcome to the Drinks panel. I kind of like this Operation Phoenix. We got a little more time. We're not rushed for time. We can spend a little more time together, so we can do some more stuff. And I decided, well, since we've got a little time, let's make an actual cocktail. What are we going to do today? Well, I'm going to go with the Tom Collins. Now, you've seen Thunderball. You know that when James Bond is in the Bahamas, he visits Emilio Largo. Largo offers him a rum Collins. Now, a Collins is any cocktail that is made with a liquor, some citrus, lemon juice, lime juice, some sugar water, simple syrup, and topped off with some club soda or seltzer. That's a Collins. So you can make a rum Collins, vodka Collins, anything you want can be turned into a Collins. Traditionally, a Tom Collins is made with gin. The funny thing about Bond cocktails is that at that time, you know, gin was sort of like the staple of London in the 50s and 60s. So to have a little more variety, to show that Bond was more worldly, they kind of avoided gin. But the gin Collins is really like the best Collins because there's something about the juniper of a gin that goes with the citrus that you put in it. I think the Tom Collins is like the perfect summer drink. And it's a step up from the usual gin and tonic. I mean, the gin and tonic is really easy. You keep gin, you keep tonic, you keep ice. You got yourself a gin and tonic anytime you want. But just the addition of the fresh citrus, offset by the sugar water, really takes this cocktail up a notch. You're going the extra mile, and that to me is what's a little Bondish. I think your friends will be pretty impressed when they see you making a Tom Collins from scratch. So let's put it together, try it out, and I'll talk at the end about why I think this cocktail is so perfect for pretty much anybody. So let's get going. Man, that guy never shuts up. Holy smokes. So basically, I wanted to sort of walk you through the steps. There's a little prep before you make it. The first one being the simple syrup. So what you just saw me do is I put about 1 cup of water into a pot on the stove. I turned the stove on, and I added 1 cup of sugar. That's all simple syrup is 1 part water to 1 part sugar. You heat it so that the sugar can dissolve. You can even do that step in the microwave, by the way. But here's my secret weapon. Because I'm making a Collins, and this is actually a good trick if you're just making lemonade, by the way, homemade lemonade. I'm going to peel a little from the lemon, just a little bit of lemon peel, probably about 2 swipes, and the flavor from the lemon absorbs into the simple syrup. So if you are specifically making a Tom Collins, or like I said, even just a homemade lemonade, throw a little lemon peel in there. It'll kind of give it a little extra flavor. And that's it. You heat it up. It doesn't have to boil, but you heat it up until the actual, you can see that the sugar granules have dissolved. So you see it's like just kind of a bubble. It's starting to bubble. I ditched my lemon peels. And then just pour it into a little serving container. And do this a little beforehand. I mean, you don't have to, but if you do a little beforehand so you can let it cool down, even better. You see it's got a little yellow tinge. That's from the lemon peels. So now this is the other step you could do beforehand. Just cut up some lemons and limes and juice them. So you have your citrus juice ready to go beforehand. I'm using the same pot,
just because I love the little lip on it. It helps. It's easy to pour out of.
And you only have to wash one.
I think I did.
And then you only have to wash one.
There you go. There you go. And it's nice if you can get a little pulp in there too. Keep the homemade ingredient thing going on. So now we're gonna put it together. So I start with my booze. I used 2 shots. That jigger is probably about 1.5 ounces. It's a big glass, by the way. So I did 2 shots of gin. And then I did 2 shots of my lemon/lime juice. Now 1 shot of my simple syrup. I actually probably should have got a little heavier with some of those because that glass is pretty. I think that'll do the job. Just give it a quick stir, and you top it off with your club soda. Some people can use Sprite, 7-Up for this,
and then add a little lemon wedge, and that, my friends, is a Tom Collins. Let's try it out. That's perfect. Again, you can tailor this exactly the way you like it. If you want it a little sweeter, just add a little more simple syrup. If you can't taste the booze, throw a little splash of gin on top. You make it exactly how you like it. Same goes for your guests, your date. It's nice that you're going the extra mile. And again, it's a James Bond cocktail. It's Collins. So cheers. I hope you enjoyed that little short video. Let's get back to the drinks room and join Kyle and the rest of the bunch. See you in a little bit. Cheers.
And gentlemen, the first PDF is in the handouts.
Awesome. So if you guys look over in the little tab that says handouts, you can see Being James Bond, Drinks and Mixology. It's the full chapter, so it's kind of soup to nuts on everything drinks and mixology. Enjoy. And that's it. And here's my Tom
Cheers.
Collins. Cheers, brother.
So then for my bit, I want to talk about James Bond beer drinker and why I think that's a good idea. There was a lot of controversy when news came out around Skyfall that James Bond was going to drink a beer on screen. Is James Bond giving up his cocktails? Is he giving up his champagne? Is he giving up his martinis and abandoning it for Heineken? But that's actually something that's very in character for James Bond. We've seen Bond drink beer quite often in Ian Fleming's novels. And I think that's a good thing. Beer is traditional. Beer is communal. Beer is food. So these are all things that we would associate with James Bond. James Bond always does the local thing. He's always drinking local, following the local customs. So drinking beer when he's in New York, drinking an American beer makes sense. Drinking Red Stripe when he's in Jamaica in the Man with the Golden Gun also makes sense. So I had David put up a poll about James Bond drinking beer, since this is something that the James Bond of the novels has done.
I don't know who David is, but Q Branch has approved your poll.
Q Branch, I'm sorry.
We'll
I should call you by your proper title.
I think that ruse is already shared. Here we go.
Yeah, I think so. What beer brands would you like to see James Bond drink on screen? Since it is something that he's done in the books, should he just not drink beer at all and stick to martinis? Should he drink Red Stripe like he has in Jamaica in a couple of novels? Should he drink Guinness like he has in a few novels? Something else? Or, stick to Heineken? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'll tell you what I voted while people are answering. I voted for Red Stripe, specifically because I know Bond's going to be back in Jamaica, so I would love to see him drinking the local brew.
Agreed.
Being a little less slavish to the to the product placement, although I know that's a fact of life. And I love the Guinness idea too. I don't know what made you pick Guinness, but kind of frankly, I'd sort of love to see James Bond go to Ireland and have.
And it's something that he would drink at home. But I picked Guinness because Guinness is an ingredient in the Black Velvet, which James Bond and Bill Tanner drink in Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds Are Forever. Yeah, nice one.
It looks like Red Stripe.
What was your thought on this?
I picked Red Stripe for the same reasons. We're seeing No Time to Die being filmed in Jamaica. It would be amazing if that was the beer he was drinking, especially since Red Stripe's now owned by Heineken. But that brand has such a resonance. The Heineken brand has such a resonance with Bond now that's what I think we're going to be seeing him drink.
Yeah, I would say so too. Oddly, I'm kind of surprised Guinness won the poll.
It's a good choice. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I made it one of the options, because I think it's one of those brands that would fit the character. It's like I said, it's traditional, it's communal, it's food, and Guinness fits the bill.
Yeah, that's great. And by the way, Kyle, I'm sure you probably would know this. Is Guinness a heavy beer?
No, Guinness is not a heavy beer. Guinness is a light beer. That's why it floats on the top of a black and tan. And it's also low in alcohol.
Yeah. I've had a few nights where I might disagree with that.
But
yeah.
I mean, after you've had half a keg.
Paul Alley says, tell that to my belly. Yeah, I feel you there, brother.
Guinness is winning the day.
So should we start opening?
Guinness is winning the day. It's a pretty close poll, though.
Gentlemen, we have Joseph on who would like to ask a question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Sweet.
He should be coming on momentarily.
Very good.
Keep talking amongst yourselves. Dead air is dead air.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Some great questions. Would Bond drink Corona? I don't see why not. Pilsner Urquell from the source.
Pilsner Urquell would be a great choice. Especially with Bond visiting Prague more than once.
Yeah, no, very good. I don't see any reason why Bond wouldn't drink Corona. I used to be pretty anti-Corona until, I don't know, somehow I got into it. I liked it. You really can't beat it with some Jameson's, a good Irish car bomb. Caleb, boy, do I agree with that. I've had nights where I just wasn't in the mood to be out socializing. I said, you know what's going to fix this? An Irish car bomb. And I swear to you, I don't know what it is, but I just start smiling the second I put it there.
Corona in Mexico, they say, would be appropriate for Bond, but I think if Bond went to Mexico, he'd drink tequila.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think Bud West is having a Jameson as we speak. Yeah, I think Bond would probably, just depending on how much time he had there. Some nights would be a tequila night, maybe a Corona in the afternoon. Who knows?
Perhaps a Dos Equis.
Best vermouth for a martini. That's a good question. I don't know. That's kind of personal taste. The old staples, Martini and Rossi's good. What's the one? Noli Pratt.
Sure. Yep.
I think it was yeah. I like that one. That's a good one.
I keep the vermouth pretty light when I drink a martini. I try not to overdo it with the vermouth.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true. Mezcal is classier than tequila.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I don't know. The next morning might disagree with that.
It all depends on. Hey, Bud West is in the house.
Oh my goodness, Bud West.
Yeah, David drew me in here. I'm not sure why.
Well, he's a man who knows a few things.
I knew you had a burning question, and your camera was working, and the other gentleman's wasn't. So there you go. You won.
Oh, that was it, right? Wow. All right. Usually, it's people turning my camera off, David. Yeah, it's yeah. So. I do have a question. Where the hell do I get Cokie Americano? Can you mail me a bottle?
That's funny. I'll tell you what, I've been looking for it myself. I might have to just break down and order some. And I purposely, for people who might be wondering what we're talking about, I downloaded a picture of it because I thought somebody's going to ask me about Cokie Americano. If you're wondering, this is the stuff that tastes much closer to classic Quina Lillet than the actual Lillet that you can buy in the stores today, because they've changed the And boy, talk about a baffling marketing miss. You'd think as soon as Casino came out, they would have put that old stuff back on the shelf
I'm surprised they
ASAP.
haven't.
I can't even. Yeah, it's very difficult to come across the Lillet itself. And Coke Americano, most of the liquor stores, I mean, I'm talking up and down the East Coast before they locked this all down. Most of the people you ask for it, and they just kind of look at you like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
you really do have to find a specialty place to find that. Like I said, I've yet to find it. I've tried it because other people have had it, but yeah, I keep coming up blank. So yeah, I think.
What is the real difference there?
The oh my God, it just fell right out of my head. The
quinine.
The same stuff that they put in the quinine. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
quinine. There was a little bit of quinine they used to put in it, which would kind of, it's that stuff in tonic that tickles your nose. And they just took it out of the recipe. So I've heard of people literally putting like an eighth of a teaspoon of quinine powder in the cocktail before they make it to try to get that back.
Okay.
I don't know how successful that is, but no, it's an interesting. The bitterness is interesting. Alan says the bitterness is missing with Lillet Blanc. Yes, exactly. There should be that little offset of a tiny bitter taste. And
you know how drinking quinine came about, don't you?
Well, that was some kind of medicinal thing, wasn't it? Didn't it have something to do with the medicinal value?
When the British were in Africa and India, they would mix quinine with gin to give it a little bit more flavor. But the quinine actually prevents malaria. But that's how gin and tonic became became invented.
Yep.
Right. Now, I actually one time purchased Lillet Rose or Rosé. Picked up the wrong stuff. Tried to make a Vesper out of it. I would recommend against that. My wife's exact quote was, "This tastes like cough syrup." Right?
Lillet's an interesting flavor.
It is. It seems. Well, it's basically just like an aperitif wine, right?
That's it. Fortified wine.
But it seems like it has a lot of sugar in it to me.
Mm. Yeah.
It just seems insanely, sweet.
Yep. Very true. I saw a question go by that I wanted to grab. It was somebody asked if a Vesper is actually considered to be a martini. I would say no and yes. Actually, somebody put a link to Coke Americano where you can get it online. Nice. Would a Vesper be considered a martini? Really, the only thing that's considered a martini is a martini. But then again, it's sort of become a class of cocktails where you have appletinis and all kinds of other martinis. Agreed. So it's kind of like a yes and no sort of answer.
I mean, is a Manhattan a martini? I mean, now you would think of a martini as kind of anything that's served with multiple spirits up, not on the rocks.
Yeah.
Sometimes with
in the martini.
Right, in the martini.
Yeah. Nicholas, I see you. Are you hiding from us? Are you
a cat right here? Broken camera. Apologies. But I did want to ask. You guys were talking about drinking locally. We were talking about like Pilsner in Prague. What's your advice for finding out how to drink locally? Like say you go over to like Kiev, or you end up in like Mexico. How do you find the actual local drink?
I'll tell you what. Just mingle with the locals and ask. Don't be shy about asking. I've done it before. I can remember a pretty embarrassing evening. I went to Brussels and I had a friend who was there, and I literally pulled into town on a Friday around 5 o'clock, just as he and some coworkers were bouncing out to happy hour. So of course I just jumped in and started mingling and talking, and I said, "What's the local brew? What's a real?" And they said, well, Duvel is local.
Good stuff.
Duvel or Duvel, D-U-V-E-L. Yeah, right. So I started throwing them back, and people kind of warned me. They said, that's
going to creep up on you pretty quick.
Oh, yes. A couple embarrassing moments that night. But that would be my suggestion. Absolutely. Just mingle on it, and don't be afraid to ask. And don't be afraid to ask your bartender. If you just happen to be in a bar or restaurant,
see what the other people are drinking and order one of those.
Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nicholas, good one. I thought the new Lillet Blanc had quinine added back into it. I don't, no, not to my knowledge.
I have to admit, it's been
still,
a while since I've bought Lillet Blanc.
Yeah,
it's not something I keep in my home bar. I probably should, seeing his Bond connection, but
I always keep a little bit handy. Yeah, but it's I mean, it's not that often that I kind of bang out the Vespers.
Hey guys,
Jason, how are you,
Jason
my
Kim
friend?
in the house.
Hey guys, I'm glad to be back, and I'm drinking Chateau de Cazes, which is one of the Saint-Emilion wines from Casino Royale during the Vesper meetup train scene. Not the exact bottle, but from the same region in Bordeaux. And
nice.
I'm a huge red wine and whiskey fan, but what kind of white wine would Bond drink? Because I'm really not a white wine fan, and I don't know much. And then, because the only time I ever drink white wine is with seafood, like when he points out the red wine with fish. I should have known. So,
I tell you what, that's a great
I know what
question.
you're gonna say.
I'd have to really think about that.
You're
you know what I'm
you're gonna go for
what am I gonna
Chardonnay,
say?
aren't you?
Why
Isn't
would
that,
I do that?
isn't that your beverage of
Was I
choice?
Chardonnay? You know, honestly, I've kind of been sort of around the world and back with. I am kind of a white wine drinker. I drink red with dinner. Like if I'm having a steak, I will have red wine with it. But if I'm just drinking just to relax, it's definitely going to be white wine. I kind of started out, I think, I was drinking Chardonnay when I was much younger. Then I sort of found Rieslings because I kind of like the extra sweetness, the extra fruit flavor. For a little while, and then I kind of found Sauvignon Blancs, and I loved it. I said, this is the perfect summer wine. It's got that kind of summer grass, cut grass sort of feel to it for a long time. And then I did a wine tasting with some friends, and they kind of did these pairings, and somehow I ended up just loving Chardonnay with meat. And I said, I know this is not supposed to be, but I'm kind of loving it, and I sort of have been back on this Chardonnay kick ever since. So as far as what Bond would drink, honestly, I would probably say, again, it probably would just sort of depend on where, when, and how sort of a thing. I saw some interesting Pinot Gris, Riesling. I saw Liebfrau Milch. I can't imagine Bond drinking a Liebfrau Milch or a Gewürztraminer. I don't see him doing the sweet wines. I would probably say he would err on the side of dry.
Agreed. I think location and occasion has a lot to do with it too. Where he is and what he's eating, who he's with. But I'd put in a vote for Pinot Grigio just because Bond travels to Italy more than any other country. So
fair enough.
My 2 cents.
Yeah, I wanted to ask something about something that I didn't have any knowledge on. So you guys did a good job answering, or a great job answering.
I don't know about great.
Thank you, Jason. A nice pick on your wine there. I like that. You have to send me that. Send me that label if we get a chance. I'm kind of curious to try that one now. A dry Riesling would do it too. There are much drier Rieslings. That's a pretty fair comment. Paul Lally, an Australian white. I could see Bond drinking. Okay. Sauvignon Blanc.
And again, he would drink the local thing. James Bond is a cosmopolitan guy.
Yeah.
Hey, gentlemen.
What's happening?
Hey, I love the
thanks.
poster.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Good.
Connor. How are
Good.
you?
It's good to talk to you guys. I wish it was a little later here. It's only 11:30 in Salt Lake, so I'm like, do I want to have a cocktail and like
go for a 3-2 beer?
We don't have those anymore.
That's right. That's right.
They finally got their shit together. Actually, I had a friend who was a lobbyist that actually like made that happen, and so every time I see her, I like give her a little.
Eventually, they're going to stop being made because those laws are all going away.
Well, that's the thing. It was like Utah and Alabama were like the last couple states I think that had.
Colorado for a while too, but I think they overthrew theirs also.
Now, I was curious with your thoughts because this has always bothered me, and I feel like I brought this up maybe on one of your Instagram lives, Joe. Like the Bond and the Martini, the fact that in the movies he's become so synonymous with the martini, but the books, he's a whiskey guy, and he's always drinking the local stuff too, which I always think is cool. And that's the thing that I appreciate is like, he's going to have the sake, he's going to have, whatever. Yeah. But I've never understood, and I've, seen the movies a gajillion times, I've read all the books, but like, why is the martini so synonymous with Bond when really in the books, and Fleming didn't like martini, I've always wondered about that. If you guys have insights into why the martini became the beverage.
Films, martinis aren't what James Bond drinks the most. More than anything else in the films, he drinks champagne. Yeah. But I think it's because of the catchphrase. I think the shaken, not stirred, it's traveled with every actor. Even though Roger Moore didn't say it, it's been ordered for him. So I think that's a huge piece of it. The catchphrase caught on, and then that image of James Bond holding the martini became iconic.
Yeah,
I think a lot of it also is the novel Dr. No, because I mean when they first started they were sticking pretty close to the novel, and there was a few things that were in that novel that became Bond staples. The PPK is one of them. That was the novel where that scene where he switches to the PPK happened in that novel, but that novel was hardly the first one.
Right.
And similarly, in that one he orders a vodka martini, shaken not stirred. There's a little conversation about it. Boom. So now it's sort of iconic with Bond because they kept that going. So, yeah. And I've always found that little bit of trivia interesting that Kyle just mentioned that oddly, if you literally counted all the drinking that Bond does in the films, you'd think the martini would be the most popular one. It's actually champagne. He's drinking champagne all the time.
And in the books, I would probably say it's bourbon.
Yeah, well, and that's why it's always weird to me because I remember, obviously I watched the movies first and then kind of got into the books later, and I remember, being surprised in the books, he's not drinking martinis, at all. Especially...
He drinks a lot more whiskey in the books.
Yeah,
he also drinks a lot of coffee in the books, which is not something we see him do in the films as often, and it's something I want to see them bring back.
Well, I would like more coffee, and I'd like one of these days. I've never seen anybody talk about this, but I would love to see his housekeeper,
agreed,
in one of the books, bring him his breakfast, on a tray, here you go, Mr. Bond. Yeah. I think that'd be kind of cool to see. I like the, the little moments. I know you guys always talk about love scenes of Bond, walking into an airport or checking into a hotel. It'd be cool to see him at his house with his housekeeper, sending him off with a big Bond breakfast.
And that's something that I'm missing too in the Daniel Craig films is seeing James Bond at leisure, James Bond at home, James Bond going to the casino just for the hell of it, as opposed to because his mission takes him there, James Bond playing golf. Those real life moments are missing from the last couple films. I think we're gonna have that in No Time to Die though.
Cool. Well, thanks guys.
It looks like he's fishing and smoking cigars and having a good time. So. I can't wait for that.
Good question. Yeah, great questions going by too, by the way. Yeah, I tell you what, I heard a question go by before for Tom and Calvin about doing the original novels again. I've literally been talking about that since Die Another Day. How much
I'd watch it. That. I think everybody here would.
Yeah, because that is the thing. One of the things that we love and we just get glimpses of it is just that Bond, how he lives, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Those you really have to squint to see those moments in the films. It's kind of rare. Yeah,
that's why one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise is the beginning of Live and Let Die, when you just see Bond at home. This is what a normal morning looks like for him. He's making coffee in his kitchen, and had a fun night the night before. I love those kinds of moments.
Yeah, very good, totally. Really great questions.
History with Bond and Smirnoff. That's a good one. Smirnoff, the first time we see Smirnoff in a James Bond movie is in the very first James Bond movie. He's got 2 bottles of it in his room in Dr. No, in his hotel. Yep. Then Smirnoff sponsored a number of the Brosnan films. Smirnoff shows up in GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, and The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to read this question and answer it from Fraser. I love Fleming's Bond and trying to take the drinks from the novels. I'm personally a big fan of bourbon. My favorite is Eagle Rare, closely followed by Woodford Reserve, or Jim Beam. I really want to try Old Grandad bourbon, but no one sells it here in the UK. Have you tried it? And if so, what does it compare to? I'll tell you what. I honestly, that's a great question, and I've had the only time I've had Old Granddad is when I was specifically looking for rye. Rye is tough to find these days. Rye whiskey. And I remember when I was purposely getting rye whiskey because I was making Sazeracs. And the actual recipe calls for rye because it's the least sweet whiskey because you're already going to sweeten it up. So I was really trying to find rye, and the only one I could find was Old Granddad. So that's really the only time I've ever tried it. So I probably couldn't give you a real good answer for that.
I have not tried Old Granddad. I'm familiar with the brand, but I've never had it. Also, Bullet Rye. If you probably could find that. It's got a green label.
Gentlemen, Joseph has approached the main stage.
Joseph, how are you, brother?
Hello, gentlemen.
How are you?
The question I had before, once I figured out how to use the computer, it was what English beer and what type would he drink? Like, for example, stouts, Young's Double Chocolate Stout in bottle or draft is great. Just curious.
I think because he's a traditional guy, James Bond would drink bitters. So he would drink like a cask conditioned bitter in a pub in London, like Fuller's London Pride or Old Speckled Hen or something like that. That's what I would envision James Bond drinking.
I would go with that. I think that's yeah. I'm kind of rusty on my authentic English beers, so I'll let Kyle take that.
No other.
A lot of the British pubs have they have regular draft beer, but they also have beer that's cask conditioned, where it's actually drawn out of the casks with a pump as opposed to like pushed out with carbon dioxide. It's a little bit less carbonated, a little bit warmer, and very, very traditional. I think that's the type of beer James Bond would drink at home.
Nice. I saw some great answers go by. I saw Fuller's London Pride, and I saw David Stevens say Newcastle Brown Ale, which I had a flashback of that comedy skit where Daniel Craig was dating Elaine, and he says, "Where's Daddy Sauce?" She goes, "It's next to your Nuki Browns."
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
I hope that was a. Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks for coming by.
It was a great one.
What do you usually drink in London?
Honestly, I kind of forget. I think that
says something about London.
No, I love the pubs in London. I've gotten many hangovers jumping from pub to pub in London. I'm trying to remember what I usually drink though. Honestly, I'd probably just ask for Guinness. I know I was drinking a lot of Fuller's one time. I mean, I've actually just been in England for business, so I'd sort of be in the same pubs sometimes. Mm-hmm. I know I've had a lot of Fuller's. I think a couple of Heinekens. So I should really get schooled on the authentic London beers.
Fuller's is great, and it's actually the brewery is in London, so that would be my choice.
Nice, very cool, super cool. A lot of really good questions came by. How can I be sure I'm drinking sake at the correct temperature of 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit without awkwardly using a thermometer? That is an excellent Bondish question, and I couldn't tell you.
Only James Bond, ever the expert, could tell us that.
Yeah. Bud West, I drink Crown Royal Rye frequently. It's an average taste at a low price point. Very good. I saw Alan said before too that he said Canadian Club was rye. I think Canadian whiskey is its own recipe, isn't it?
That's true. There's a misconception in the U.S. We've called Canadian whiskey rye for a long time, whether it's been made from rye or not, and that goes back to like Prohibition times when Canadian bootleg whiskey was coming in, and a lot of it was made with rye and some of it wasn't. So now that terminology is kind of hung over that we keep calling Canadian whiskey rye when it can be, but it isn't always. Canadian Club is not rye distilled for rye.
I think Canadian whiskey is kind of like Tennessee whiskey, where it's kind of specifically its own recipe, so they sort of give it its own designation, I think. I saw a great question about Sazeracs go by.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, real quick. Tim has now approached and is on the stage.
Tim, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
What you got
I
for
actually
us?
have well, first of all, I have Irish whiskey from the Humphrey Bogart estate, Bogart Spirits, which I think is
Nice.
very good. I got it from a friend of mine who actually had been a couple years ago. He's still kind of working on it, trying to find beer pairings for each Bond film. So my question is, if you were to pair at least one beer with either each actor or each film, maybe in the Craig run of films, what would you choose?
I feel like that's like a Kyle's like a whole episode you should do, like just like
Awesome
all 24.
I think a lot would depend on location and occasion. So where James Bond is would have something to do with it, and what James Bond is doing and what he's eating would have something to do with it. But I mean, there's a lot of softballs like in Dr. No, Red Stripe all the way, Thunderball Banks. Let's see, where else does Bond go? Italy shows up in so many of the Bond films, so Peroni would be a great choice. To do it by actor, well, I mean, I could say if you did it by actor, Brosnan would have Guinness. Roger Moore would probably have Fuller's or something else, English. Sean Connery, Newcastle. You could do it that way also, where you do it by ethnicity. Victoria Bitter for Lays and Moreau.
I saw somebody do a. I wish I could remember who this was because I would love to give him credit. But there was somebody who had just finished he put together a pub in his basement. It was great, and he had like a little flight, like a tasting of, and he had like 5 beers sitting across, and he went down. He said, "This one is the Connery." He had great names for him too. Like, but one was like the Connery. It was a Scottish with a little bitter or whatever. Lazenby was like an Australian lager with a swagger or something like that. I mean, it was so perfect. I wish I could.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna work on that. I think that definitely has potential.
Yes.
I love the idea of pairing a beer with each Bond film and each Bond actor.
Kyle, I tell you what,
so
we'll do an episode. We'll put it on my YouTube channel.
Let's do it.
Steal the idea.
Let's do that. I'm all about it.
That's good.
Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good
Thanks
one.
for coming on.
Somebody was asking about the Sazerac, and I swear I was really debating on possibly making a Sazerac for my video, but I wanted to keep it kind of summery and sort of light and not get too exotic with the ingredients. But somebody was asking about what kind of absinthe you should use. That's a great question because honestly, for the longest time, people were always using the absinthe substitutes. Pernod was a big one, mostly for the flavor. Not for the pink elephants that you would see when you have actual Sazerac. I mean, not when you have actual absinthe. So it's a very interesting question. I don't really have a preference for absinthe. Oh, there they are.
Our brothers from down under.
How are you guys?
What's up, guys?
Thank you.
Marcus and Peter, always looking sharp.
Our question is, if James Bond were ever in Australia, what would he drink?
I think you could answer that better than I could.
First of all, I have to ask.
Probably not.
James Bond drink BB?
Not the best beer down here. Actually, our Heinekens are brewed here under license through CUB. So I might drink those.
And that's one of the reasons why I think Heineken is a good fit for Bond. It's because it's a global brand made around the world, and it tastes the same in Australia as it does in China, Africa, and the United States.
Yeah, I have to ask you guys about the tuxes. They look very specific to Bond movies, and I'm wondering if I'm
not really. I mean, I bought mine because it looked similar to Casino Royale, but
that's exactly what I was thinking. I said that's the Casino tux,
Mine,
and that's got to be the Skyfall tux.
This one I just bought because I like it.
Looking sharp, guys. I love it.
You fooled us. It still fits the bill for the Skyfall tux.
If you guys told me screen worn tuxes, I would have been like, oh, wow, cool. I wouldn't have known.
These guys are always outdressing me. I'm jealous.
Love it. Love it, guys. Great question. Great question. Alan asked me, he said, do you remember when we went to the the Sazerac bar at the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans. Yes, and if you guys are curious on how to do a Sazerac, we went to the Sazerac bar in New Orleans, and I got a demo of a girl making a Sazerac from scratch. Great stuff. So check out my New Orleans video. Hey, what's up,
g'day.
guys?
How are we?
G'day.
Oh, we got more
Australians. More
Australians.
Australians.
Awesome.
All right, so maybe you can help us answer that last question.
Well,
What would
we were
James
talking
Bond
about
drink
this
in
earlier. We
Australia?
didn't know what it would be. Maybe a Great Northern or a VB. It definitely wouldn't be Foster's because no one down here.
No one drinks that anymore.
You know what's funny? That's one of another like American misconception is we assume Foster's is like the popular beer in
Not at all.
I've never tried it, and I'm an alcoholic.
I have
like
tried
when
it.
I was trying to get the Molson up in Canada. Wow, they were harsh.
Well, I don't have a question. We're going to leave it up to the drink expert here at Trey Bond.
So when Roger Moore took over from Sean Connery, they made a very kind of conscious effort to separate him from Connery. So he had cigars and bourbon. I feel like I'm going out on a limb here, but Daniel Craig has kind of pretty famously tied himself to the Vesper Martini. So what would you say is the drink that the next Bond should have to differentiate himself from the Craig era?
Good question. That's a good. Well, he could go back to the traditional vodka, dry vodka martini, shaken not stirred, or it could be something that we haven't seen Bond drink before, like an old fashioned or a Manhattan, or Joe's favorite, Tom Collins.
That is an excellent question. I tell you, I mean, I kind of feel like it would sort of be a similar situation, like we were kind of talking about why did all the stuff from Dr. No become so iconic? Well, it just happened to be the first one they did. I kind of feel like the next actor, depending on where they put him, he'll probably drink locally, and based on that could sort of set the stage going forward. But I wouldn't mind seeing Bond going back to gin, because I sort of feel like one of the reasons why you see so little gin in any of the Bond cocktails was because in the 50s and 60s, gin was just sort of like your basic standard cocktail. So they were like, no, our James Bond goes to Russia. He would know about vodka, and now vodka is like just such a standard staple, today. I wouldn't mind seeing them go back to drinking more gin, and I definitely do like the idea of some whiskey cocktails, some old fashions, some Negronis. I kind of got the Negroni bug the last few months. So I wouldn't mind that at all.
Or an Americano, which
it's interesting.
Yep.
I think we might need another Australian Bond to bring him down under and see what we can give him.
Yeah.
That is one of the tragedies of the Bond franchise. How has Bond not been to Australia yet?
Concur.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Blofeld or anyone trying to get you. It's the animals you got to worry about. Even the plants will try and kill you. You got to be careful.
There you go. Right? You could do. You only live twice there with the Garden of Death. And do it in Australia.
Exactly. I love it. Is it 0 minus 10 where he goes to Australia? One of the Bensons. He goes to Australia.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
there's some great material in those books that if Eon is ever looking for some story ideas, that's where I would look.
Yeah. You heard it, Barbara.
Very much so. Good question, guys. Love the podcast too, by the way. Trey Bond, check him out.
Gentlemen, this is Q Branch. You have 5 more minutes. You have a choice. You could even have closing remarks and talk to each other, or you could probably take one more question and keep it to 5 minutes. Your choice.
I would definitely go with a question. And by the way, Q Branch, if you want to post that other handout,
why don't you tell people what the handout is?
There's as kind of like a little parting gift. This is an advanced chapter from Being James Bond Volume 2, kind of staying in the theme. I keep my sections all the same. This is the good life. This is the food and wine chapter that I put a lot of work into it. When you see how extensive this is, you'll be like, oh, that's why it takes him forever to write a book. So
I
yeah,
want to pause for a
is,
second, by the way, because Joe is not going to give himself credit. This is, everybody's been bugging him for 6 years or better for volume 2. This is the world's first peek publicly of a chapter from volume 2. Is that correct, Joe?
that is correct. Yes.
So this group has it first.
I'm
And
excited now.
it's in the handout section.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this chapter. By the way, it ends up with one of my favorite recipes. I just kind of threw in there for fun. So enjoy that. And we'll take a question.
We have Chris approaching the stage. It's going to take him a couple seconds to turn on his camera and mic. And here he is.
Hello, can you hear me?
Chris. Yes.
Hello.
We can. How are you?
Hello, guys. How are you doing? Right, so
Good to see you again.
everyone always talks about like the best of everything. I'm wondering if you were in a bar with James Bond, what's the most disrespectful thing you could buy for him? What's the worst thing that you could slide across the bar to him that you'd hate the most? It's got to be alcoholic, but what is the worst thing you could give him?
One of those hard seltzers.
a white clam, whatever you call
it. White Claw or
White Claw.
Yeah. And I sell a lot of those, but that's not what Bond should be drinking.
My favorite meme is the Beastie Boys did not fight for our right to party, so we could drink White Claw. I think White Claw would be colossally disrespectful. I think just a Coors Light would be very disrespectful. Cocktail wise, I'm going with the rum and coke. I think the rum and coke, he would spit it back in your face.
So you can make it worse.
Or maybe even
Jack Daniels and Coke as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, Jack and Coke would fit that category. Casino Royale, he actually, it's funny because when I first saw it, I thought the same thing. I said, did he really just order a rum and coke? I mean, I thought there was two things in Casino the first time I went, oh, no. First of all, was the short sleeve dress shirt under the jacket. I was like, no. And the rum and coke, and I was like, no. So, right. So I changed my tune on both, but the rum and coke part, he actually orders a rum and club soda. If you look at it closely, like I said, he's holding it in front of a dark colored shirt, so it looks like it's a dark colored soda, but he's actually ordering club soda. So I kind of and I've been in that same bar and ordered the same drink, and I'm like, all right, I'll give that a pass now.
Fair enough.
But that's a great question to finish out.
Do you guys have WKD over where you are? So it's basically it's like lemonade, food coloring, and it's just about 4%.
Okay, I know what it is.
It's alcohol, I think they're called. And I think that's possibly the worst thing I could consider sliding over to Mr. James Bond.
Doesn't one of those come in like an electric blue color? Like it looks like Gatorade?
You can actually see the amount of sugar that's going into your system. Hey, thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Good question, buddy. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Cool. So that was like a lot of good, really great questions. I love it. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys enjoy the chapters. All right. That's our 5-minute cue.
That was quick.
Yeah. Calvin Dyson said, mix it with some port for a cheeky Vimto cocktail. Interesting. All right. More good questions, but we'll save it for the next one. So
let's work on that beer and Bond pairing. I like that idea.
And not to worry, gentlemen, we will have you on in the end, so you'll be seeing these wonderful faces one more time in the end session for sure.
I'll be drunk by then.
When are you not?
I'll try to slow it down.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.